Everyone. I am extremely excited to introduce our next topic. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from several of our Evolving Solutions team members on how they're working with our clients every day. To help kick us off and to moderate our session, I'd like to introduce Suzanne Woods. Suzanne joined Evolving Solutions 3 years ago and has many years of experience in the technology industry across a variety of marketing, sales, and leadership roles. In her current role, Suzanne is responsible for our company's revenue generation strategies and leads what I must say is a fantastic team of sales professionals who get the opportunity to work with our clients each and every day. Prior to joining our company, Suzanne was most recently the Director of Sales at IBM, where she was responsible for the commercial distribution market across the United States for the entire IBM portfolio. Suzanne is passionate about the development of the next generation of talent, and so she spends a lot of her time mentoring and coaching the next generation of tech talent throughout the Midwest. Suzanne, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Bo, and good morning, everybody. I'm just going to say I have the best job in the world because I work with the greatest team. Thank you to our audience for joining us again. And as Bo said, with me today, I have several of our team members, and we're going to spend a little bit of time just talking about the Evolving Solutions approach to what I lovingly refer to as the modern data center, and really the disciplines required in this new world. But before we get started, let's just finish up with introductions. We're going to just go around the slide. So Julian, we're going to start with you.
Sure. My name is Julian Mcroy. I'm a solutions architect with Evolving Solutions. I have over 20 years of experience in the networking industry, the last 10 years of which I've been very much focused on data center and software-defined networking. I joined the network practice at Evolving Solutions earlier this year. The prior 7 years, I worked for Cisco Systems, where I was helping enterprise customers realize and execute on some of the promises of software-defined network.
Great, thank you. Jordan.
Hello, I'm Jordan Gador. I'm the sales specialist for the Enterprise Monitoring and Analytics Practice Group, and our focus and really our core charter is to help large organizations improve and mature their monitoring, and that includes the products, the process, and the people.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jordan. Jen.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jennifer Keinath, and I recently joined the Evolving Solutions team. And over the past 15 years, I've supported clients large and small, global and regional, with their toughest business challenges, such as networking, modern day applications, and infrastructure.
Thank you, Jen. And last, of course, but not least, Phil.
Hi, my name is Phil Fisichella. I'm an enterprise architect for Evolving Solutions. I have over 25 years of IT experience, and actually over the past decade, a lot of global experience transforming our clients' applications and infrastructure in their modernization journeys to become more agile.
Thank you, Phil. And I'm going to jot some things down as we talk here. But to get us started, Jen, I'm going to go to you first. You mentioned that you have worked with many large and small organizations. You're one of our recent additions to the team. Why did you join Evolving Solutions? What was the draw?
So I joined Evolving Solutions because they have an outstanding reputation helping their clients solve their toughest business challenges. We've heard from clients and potential clients across different verticals at what resonates the most is their similarities and their challenges across the stack, including their momentum to a cloud-centric environment. This requires a partner like Evolving Solutions that continues to invest in their journey where it matters most with our vision is centered on modern operations and future-proofing their environments. That's really what drew me to Evolving Solutions. Suzanne.
Well, thank you. And of course, Jen, we are thrilled to have you on the team. So I'm going to move this over to you. Jen mentioned modern operations. Can you share a little bit with our audience just what we mean at Evolving Solutions when we talk about modern operations?
Absolutely. You know, businesses today are transforming, and this requires IT to transform with it. This transformation is really what we're talking about when we refer to modern operations. We all need to be more agile to accommodate for this. This all circles around that modern operations, such as DevOps, etc. There's two challenges I see with modern operations, and that's in skills and tools. This can be exciting and stressful from the skills perspective. Learning and adapting to the new landscape is not only relevant for IT, but it requires IT to support that transformation as well. From a tools perspective, there's new tools and enhanced tools that we need to adapt to as well to support this agility and getting into the hybrid cloud as well. For IT, this really means that we need to deliver principles in new ways. Our operational principles are going to stay the same. However, it's delivered in different ways. It's delivered by hybrid cloud adoption. This could be not only in your data center, but also public cloud, multi-cloud. It all has to act the same and feel the same to your end users and developers. This also includes enhancing data protection, modern networking, automation, and also, but not least of which, is monitoring, enterprise monitoring and analytics. We really need to understand not only what's going on today, but have some predictive items in there so that we can predict before things get bad, they can be addressed so they don't turn into outages.
So let me make sure that I understand what you said. When we talk about modern operations, it's really that set of operational disciplines required in this modern data center or the hybrid multi-cloud world. And I jotted down some things when Paul was speaking. He actually said that cloud is a capability, not a destination. Did I get that right?
That's absolutely correct. It's a set of disciplines in my mind. We should be treating all of our environments as if they're cloud, just about. This way our end users have that ability to perform at the highest levels. And it's really all about that adaptation to deliver the same service levels with new tools, processes, and environments.
Great. Thank you, Phil. Jordan, Phil referred to talent and tools and potentially talent shortages. You and I, before the session started, talked a little bit about talent and tools as a couple of the key factors in the monitoring or observability world. What is required these days to support overall user experience from a monitoring perspective?
Yeah, I think really what we continue to see is that IT departments are under tremendous pressure to modernize quickly, yet still sort of held responsible for maintaining their existing systems, and yet budgets and headcounts have remained flat or have decreased, right? So progress and transformation won't happen unless there's a comprehensive strategy and an approach related to monitoring and observability. And ultimately, data, we feel, fuels transformation, yet when it's incomplete or it isn't there or it's inaccurate, which oftentimes is the case, and we hear from our customers, it's those expensive engineering resources that get pulled in to solve these problems versus, they should be spending time doing what they were hired to do, which is to develop and to innovate, really. And so this issue is certainly exacerbated by the increase in complexities that come with sort of modern initiatives, right? Modern app development and containerization, cloud migration, and microservices. And so, we see our clients are asking for assistance, like how do we navigate this new world? And it's certainly a challenge that we see sort of day in and day out. And how do we help them increase the value of their current tool investments? How do we consolidate sort of these legacy tools and develop really an observability roadmap that they can execute not only to today, but years in the future? And that will allow them to really automate these high value workflows. And in turn, what that does is it automates the experiences and capabilities that define their brand and differentiate their value proposition. And so I think more complexities don't mean you need more tools, which we oftentimes see is the case. And, you just need the right tools and as few of them as possible for what is required. And so more tools doesn't often translate to more visibility. It often means just an increase in an ever expanding sort of mountain of data that operations and engineers have to parse through when an inevitable issue arises. And so it's really sort of this interesting paradox we see today is organizations have more tools and more data at their disposal and at their fingertips. And and yet the number of outages and the duration to resolve those outages are trending upward and not downward. So, what we see is the complexities, the duration of outages, the frequency of outages, and additionally sort of this lack of sort of monitoring expertise at these organizations certainly have an impact. And that's typically because monitoring isn't necessarily a career path, heavily sought after, right? It's typically an assigned sort of stepping stone. And that's why we've invested heavily in resources and expertise in monitoring and observability to sort of fulfill that gap in the market for our customers. And so with the deep technical expertise we have on the EMA team, our charter is to help organizations mature their monitoring from really the end user and application monitoring all the way down to sort of the network performance and infrastructure monitoring. And so we're able to help customers sort of with the products and the people and the process. And this allows organizations to really unlock the data to accelerate the business transformation that's so heavily sought after. And so what we see is the relative effort of input for changing this sort of far outweighs the downstream output and what's critically important to meet the demands of today's consumers.
Great, a lot there, but I think we all certainly have been part of a massive outage where there are war rooms, et cetera, and nobody wants to relive that. But Jen, I'm going to go back to you because both Phil and Jordan talked about changes. And are we making this up? When you worked with these clients, as you work with clients, do you really see a world that is changing?
Absolutely. Change is constant, Suzanne. And, I've worked with some of the largest global companies in the world. And one thing that is always resonating is how they thrive and how they survive, especially in IT when it comes to next generation applications and how they continue to improve their customer experience, whether it's internally or externally. And what's most interesting is all of the issues and client challenges that they have really resonate across the stack. So anytime they're looking at infrastructure, it just bleeds into networking, security, and how they deliver applications faster to their customers. That's why it's like so fantastic that we have these practices to help join forces to solve, their biggest challenges.
Great, thank you. So we're not making these changes up. No, that's good.
Absolutely.
Julian, we're going to go to you. We're going to go to talk a little bit about the backbone, the glue, the network that ties everything together. So everybody talked about changes and challenges. Give us your perspective on the impact of all of these on the network and the world of networking.
Absolutely. To really answer that question, I think we have to look at a bit of history in networking, because the networking landscape has drastically changed, specifically over the last decade. I've been in the industry for 21 years. The first 2/3 of that experience was operating network devices at a command line interface box by box. That's the way historically networks have been operated and maintained. The last 7 years, 8 years or so, software-defined networking changed the game. And that came from academia and became something real where there was products that enterprise customers could start purchasing and deploying around 2014. And that's when it became real. In large part, customers were trying, I always try to simplify and distill things down to the common elements, the least common denominators, to figure out what's the value, right? We don't adopt technology simply for the sake of technology. We have to be solving real business challenges. So from a software-defined networking perspective, customers were focusing largely on 4 things. Automation orchestration, right? Any networking platform, software-defined networking solution that did not have a fully exposed northbound RESTful interface was doomed for failure. And so every solution that we've seen hit the market has REST APIs where we can automate the infrastructure from a centralized set of controllers, right? That's a common theme across vendors' products. Another big pillar that customers have focused on is being able to support application resiliency and business continuity. And the best way to do that from a network perspective is multi-fabric, multi-data center solutions, right? To be able to support applications from a network mobility perspective. Another pillar that customers are focused on from an SDN perspective is transforming the operations model. to provide superior operational visibility. Jordan was speaking about modern operations and observability, and that's something certainly really important in the network space. And a lot of modern networking solutions have the ability to extract meaningful data out of the fabric, to understand flow telemetry, to find hotspots in the network, and those types of things. The last pillar that I'll point out for software-defined networking is probably the most important, and it's network security and segmentation. And to be, completely honest, most customers are really now trying to solve that. They have taken very simple approaches to SDN, where they just migrated from legacy infrastructure to the new modern approach with automation and multi-fabric solutions, with operational tools. And now they're focusing, they accomplished in many cases those first three bullet points, and now they're focusing on security and segmentation. A lot of the projects that I'm actively working on right now are focused on that exact objective. So how does this pivot towards multi-cloud, right? We've accomplished a lot on-prem from an SDN perspective. A lot of customers, most customers, have some type of presence in the cloud, and it's a question on how do I modernize networking? How do I make it so that I have a centralized and cohesive approach to providing networking, whether it's on-prem or if it's in the cloud? That's really the big challenge, I think, of this particular era. Suzanne, you pointed out, the network is the glue that ties everything together. So it's really important that you have a robust strategy around how you deliver network services. We live in an age where business applications are migrating to cloud. They're going to different clouds, AWS, Azure, GCP, so on and so forth. We also live in an age of Internet of Things. So IoT is omnipresent. There's devices that are connecting to networks, to the internet, to enterprise networks in many different ways and kind of across the board. We also, something else to point out is the drastic change in networking just over the last year due to COVID and the global pandemic. So many workers have been forced to work from home, and which this has a drastic change on the dynamics on how networks function. You end up with impacts on the internet edge for enterprise networks where there wasn't necessarily a bottleneck before. So a lot of changes have had to be done in order to facilitate how your end users that are supporting your applications and running the business connect to their applications, whether they're in cloud or whether they're on-prem. So there's a lot of dynamics that are kind of ongoing in this current market. So as we think about how do we, if the goal is to provide a normalized model to be able to provide connectivity, whether I'm on-prem or whether I'm in the cloud, I'm going to distill this down to three focus areas, right? The first thing I think a lot of customers are trying to achieve and trying to wrap their heads around right now is providing normalized connectivity. And what I mean by that is I have to have a way, because each one of these clouds have some means of providing connectivity, whether it's across the internet or if we're talking GCI, Express Route, Direct Connect, right? Can I provide a normalized model and use features like network function virtualization to be able to stand up services in minutes and hours as opposed to days and weeks and perhaps even months, right? That's where I come from, certainly in the network industry. It always has taken long to deliver network services. And because of modern technologies, we're able to stand up network services in minutes and hours in meaningful ways, right? So normalized connectivity certainly is one big factor. And the other thing to point out with this too is the providers won't come to you; you have to go to them. So, can I provide a consistent strategy where I'm normalizing connectivity inside of a cloud or carrier neutral facility to provide connectivity into the public clouds? That's one key pillar. The second area that is an area of focus here is policy orchestration. And so what I mean by that is, if you're operating inside of AWS and Azure and Google and other clouds, each one has its own group-based policy model. They have means by which we can instantiate least privileged network security policies. However, they're all quite different, right? And so you either master each one of these, or perhaps you try to find a strategy that's either one where you develop it yourself or use some of the vendor solutions that are on the market today to be able to provide policy orchestration and standardization. So I have one operating model relative to how I deliver least privileged network security policies across my network, whether it's on-prem or whether it's in public cloud. That's super important as well. And then the last piece is day two operations. Again, back to observability. How can I extract meaningful data, whether that application is running on-prem or whether it's running in the cloud? I need application performance monitoring and some of the stuff that Jordan was referring to. I need to understand what's happening in the network as well. And I need to understand what's happening in the network universally across the board from a data center perspective, whether it's someone else's data center or my own. So all the network technology has evolved over the years, certainly, and some of the situations we find ourselves in, today because of global pandemics and so forth. One thing is consistent. The requirement to provide consistent and reliable network services to applications and to the business has not changed. So the network solutions and strategies have to continue to evolve to meet those current business requirements.
Great, thank you for that, and a lot of information there. But the one thing that I picked up on is, Phil, back to you. Julian mentioned automation a couple of times. Why is automation important?
Automation is very important. It is darn near impossible to do modern cloud operations without automation. That's basically what the cloud is. Most of it's automated, it's self-service. Unless we have things that are automated ourselves and for our clients, it's really just not cost prohibitive. It's not very agile, and the users will feel that difference and that change. Now, automation does not have to be an impossible task. It might look large, but it's not impossible. The reality is you got to start small. Get some quick wins. Learn from your mistakes. Have other consultants from a perspective of their knowledge in that small environment. Once you get those small environments automated and small tasks automated, then you can learn and move to the bigger and larger pieces for that full automation project.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Phil. Well, we have reached almost the end of our time here, so I'm going to summarize just a couple of themes that I picked up on during our conversation. In this world of IT that's ever changing, we need more operational visibility. We need security everywhere, but we also need security built in. We need to unlock the data that we have to provide insights into the operations of our technology infrastructure. And on tooling, be it the network or monitoring, we don't need more tools. We need the right tools to give us insight and support across this continuum of the hybrid cloud or multi-cloud. And just to finish up again, cloud is not a destination, but rather cloud is a set of disciplines, much like we've deployed for many years in IT. So with that, team, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for your participation. And to our audience, thanks for listening to us. With that, Bo, back to you.
Awesome, Suzanne, Julian, Phil, Jordan, Jen, thank you all for participating today. And as you saw this morning, Jamie previewed our kind of hybrid cloud vision at a high level, but I think you all just really in 20 minutes took that to another level of detail and helped us understand, where this all comes together. And I heard many of you talking throughout there, and Suzanne mentioned as well, of, none of this really matters unless we're helping drive a business goal. And I think you all just helped put that together for everyone. So I appreciate you being here. For our audience, I invite you to watch this next video as we transition into our next speaker of the day.